Hello and welcome to the Joy of Pastels studio. In today's painting lesson, I will show you step by step how to draw a sweet Halloween kitty with a witch hat and a pumpkin. I show you how to use pastel sticks, how to blend them, and also how to use pencils for details. Before we dive in, let's speak about the material. As a paper, I am using Pastel Mat from Clairefontaine. It's a high quality pastel mat paper, and I've used the color Buttercup. This is a yellow. It is a bit rougher than dark gray and brown. So for detailed portraits, I would recommend to use the dark gray that is also in that pad number 1. But for painting with the pastel sticks, it really worked well. Then I've used soft pastel sticks from Sennelier, 36 pastel sticks. They come in a wooden box and have beautiful colors. They are round soft pastel sticks and are very soft. They have a high color abrasion and it was fun to draw with them. For fine lines, I have used some Carpothellos from Stabilo. They are a bit softer pastel pencils and you can use them incorporating into your pastel paintings or also for portraits and drawings. They have beautiful colors. And these are my favorite pastel pencils, the Pits from Faber-Castell. They are harder and you can use them for adding details to drawings, portraits and also into your painting. Then you also need blending tools. Either you use your fingers for blending or paper stamps. They are nice to blend your layers, or soft tools. They are called soft and you can use them for blending the soft pastel sticks and also pan pastels. You find links about all material I'm using in this lesson below in the description. Okay, let's start. Here I have drawn a sketch with pastel pencils and then I start with highlights in the eye using the Carpothello Stabilo pastel pencils and plot in the black around the eyes to add beautiful contrast right away. This is more a painting, not so detailed, not so realistic like I draw the animals in Animal Art Club. But it should be fun and it is so sweet also to draw this nice sweet subject and to make it a little bit more easier and fun. Here I blend with a paper stamp then the iris. I've added a bit of green and bring in highlights with a yellow pastel pencil. Adding then also some little dots in white. I'm using here the white Carpothello. They are a bit softer and are showing up well, and then it comes here to using the soft pastel sticks and start painting and applying the pastel pigment for the underpainting. I use the paper stamps for blending then and go over, remove a bit of the pigment. You have a lot of pastel pigment on your paper when you're working with the sticks, but you also can mix the layers together easily. That's really nice. Here I plot in a little bit of pink for the nose and go around with the darks, plot in a bit black and always blend over it. And I have added some little strokes with the paper stamp itself. You can also use the blending tool for adding details. And then some white dots for highlights on top of the nose. I have always a process about plotting in midtones for the base layer and then go over with darks and always work from a midtone to the darks and then to lights. Here I plot in a little bit of a peachy orange color and create the base layer with the sticks. This is a version and that works really well and it is faster. You cover the paper with a nice layer of pigment. If you are doing more a painterly style, then you don't have to remove a lot of that pigment, then it should stay if you paint with the pastel sticks. If you would like to draw more realistically, then you have to blend it better. That you then can layer on top for sure. This pastel matte paper allows a lot of layers. I blend here a darker orange color together with a lighter orange color and mix the colors a bit with the blending tool. You can easily mix the pastel pigments of the soft pastel sticks together. Also, I use my finger for blending. It is sometimes easier to get smooth layers. And then let's add a brown tone. So add different values into the fur of the little kitty here. Lighter, a base layer with a mid-tone, the lighter orange, and then go over here with some darks and different orange tones and brown tones, and then I blend these strokes a little bit together. I like to soften that fur structure here a bit, and I also, when I'm drawing animals, I bring in details. I'm so used to that, and I use the pastel pencils for bringing in details, even though that kitty is more a painting than a drawing. It is not so hyper realistically. It should be fun, it should be easy, so I use here also a Caputhello yellow to add some highlights in the fur. And I really loved bringing that little Halloween kitty to life. It was so fun to draw this nice subject, not always realism. It looks so sweet, and I like fairy tales and magic, and I also enjoyed drawing this sweet little animal here in a bit of a fairy tale style. Adding some highlights in the ears here, and also go over right away with a white pastel stick and add really nice contrast and light reflections. It is a lot of contrast, but it looks beautiful and sweet here in that painting. And then I go over with a paper stamp and make it softer, make the transition softer, go over with a yellow, that it is not so hard, the contrast between the orange fur and the... Let's make a short little break. If you love to draw animal eyes, I have a mini course for you. You get instant access for just $20. Find the link below in the description. White. And always go in also with some shadows. So go in with browns and blacks. I plot in right away the black for the head. To have here a background and around the face, I use here the black sennelier stick and blend it then with a cotton swab. In that case, a cotton swab work really better, or these blending tools, the soft tools. Cotton swabs work in a smaller area well to create a smooth base layer. The paper stamps are more for details and very small areas. For larger areas, I use the cotton swabs. Here I add with a white Caputhello some overlapping hairs. Hairs are easier to draw with pencils, so you always can combine pastel sticks with pastel pencils. You can use different materials. There are so many techniques available with pastels, and I've called my studio now the Joy of Pastels Studio, and I will do more painting lessons and experimenting with different techniques and give you lessons here on this YouTube channel here in the Joy of Pastels Studio. So you can look forward to get more painting and drawing lessons all about the pastel medium, because I really like the magic of drawing with pastels. Here I add more fine details with pencils, orange browns, ochres browns, go in with more hairs like I do in my realistic animal portraits I draw and teach in Animal Art Club. But so it's the same method, but not so fine and detailed. It looks a little bit more painterly. But the pencils are needed to get that first structure in, especially on that size. Here I draw then this little ribbon here on the hat. I make it violet and blend it again with a cotton swab. These little tools are cheap and really work well. Then I plot in a bit of the black pastel pigment. By the way, you can work with any pastel sticks you have at home and draw that. You don't need the Sennelier. You can use Rembrandt, you can use cheaper chalk, so just have fun and draw that Halloween kitty. Try it out on the paper you have. The pastel mat paper allows more layers, even though when you're working with sticks, and maybe another pastel paper will be saturated very early. But we don't need so many layers here for this painterly style, only for the fur of the kitty, not for the pumpkin or the hat. And so the background, here I add some highlights with a white stick and blend it with the paper stamp, very simple, and add some strokes and a bit of a layer of pastel pigment here with the stick, and it looks nice and painterly. Don't blend too much, it should not be so realistic and not so blurry and blended together in that style. Add a bit blue here or another violet, and it looks nice and sweet. And what's important is always that you add contrast. I go here again more over it and add a bit of glow of the light here that is coming from the upper left corner, and a bit of a light on the edges of the hat. Yes, and I am a detail lover, so I go over with some more details then here, just to create a bit more of a fur structure, crossing lines, overlapping lines with the pastel pencils. Below the chin, then add contrast and depth with a darker color, with a dark brown. I have also used the black before, and I also go in a bit with violet. Orange and violet matches well together. Also yellow and violet. Yellow and violet are complementary colors. Also the orange with the violet works well. And then I plot in here just some clumps with the white pastel stick, and go with darks between, a bit black, and sketch in here a bit the clumps and the shadow below. Here it is the floor, and plot then also in some paw pads with a flesh color, and go in with the mid-tone, so with the lighter orange yellow, and also bring in some darker clumps. Go over the lighter orange with some darker colors, but so bring in the darks and some lighter colors for the lighter clumps of fur here, and go around a bit with the black where the floor and the shadow areas are, and then I blend it with the paper stamp here really very well. I like to use my fingers also. It is sometimes really helpful and works better than the stamps or any blending tool. Go over every part here and blend the base layer very well. And then I add more clumps of hair with the lighter orange color, and go in with some shadows around below the clumps, and build up a bit of structure in the paws. Add shadow between the clumps, so increase the depth by going in with darker colors with a dark brown. And then I go in here with a white pencil. This is a white charcoal pencil to draw some finer lines on top. Add some highlights and also some finer details. I start always with some rougher clumps here in that painting, and then go over with smaller, thinner lines finally then. You can also use the edges of the sticks for drawing lines, so you don't need to have pencils. But with the pencils you just can draw more details and precise little things. I plot in also the violet here on the lower part of the paw, and some brown tones and orange tones, and working with the black here again and shaping the fur and the paw. If you go in then here with some white and add some highlights and go over with more white lines or brighten up the upper part of the paw. Yes, and going over with some whiter strokes all the time and adding some highlights. So it's all a process of building up layers. Start with the rather not so detailed clumps and go over then with more and more details finally. You don't have to make it here too detailed. Here the paw is also to draw, bring in some darks between the toes and always blend over the portrait a bit. If you don't like some areas, you can make them smoother, remove the grid a bit, or blend layers together. For that, the paper stamp always works really well. Yes, and now let's do the pumpkin. I start with the shadows in the eyes and in the mouth and make it really deep dark black. In that case with the pencil, because it's easier in these smaller areas to work with the pencil. So the sticks are great for larger areas and when you can use the edges, but when you have to draw these triangles, the pencils really are an advantage. I plot in here some lighter color around here where we have the cutouts and the edges, the side parts of these holes. And then let's plot in the darker orange here on the left, and I have added a bit of the lighter shadow above where we have then light reflections. The lighter orange brown, and I also add a bit of violet pastel stick. These are all the Sennelier pastel sticks below. And blend it then here in that case with the paper stamp, so upwards and downwards. You can follow the direction from above, from the stem downwards, and blend it really well. You don't have to remove too much pigment, it's more a painterly style. Add a bit shadow at the bottom, below the pumpkin, really to let it pop, to have a great contrast. And these black colors matches really well to the spooky Halloween effect. And blend it here, and the floor I blend with the cotton swab to make it really smooth, and go also again over the pumpkin a bit with the cotton swab. Add a bit of yellow on top where we have these highlights on top of the pumpkin, and bringing in some lights on top and blend it with the cotton swab. You can let some strokes, that's a nice structure here on the pumpkin. It does not have to be really blended and very smooth. Sometimes when you have here some lines and so indents, it looks also better and a bit more realistic. Bring in a highlight on the stem too and blend over it, and then I add here some colors in the eyes. That this is not only white or ivory, that I bring in some browns and a bit of shadows on the left parts of the eyes, and some more highlights to increase the contrast. And then finally I do a bit of a background with violets and some orange colors here. I think the orange so behind the pumpkin is also nice, a matching contrast with the orange pumpkin, and here bringing then above the head the orange as contrast in. And use the blending tool, the soft tool here, for blending in the background. For that area it is working really well. It is also so a bit small and thin at the front part, and you can use that really well. I also use the finger. Have you seen? I like to use the finger. The finger makes the smoothest blurry background in my opinion. And for closed areas towards the subject, cotton swabs or paper stamps are the better decision. Blend over, make it here blurry. Sometimes you can also, if you for example here have used the yellow paper like I did, it could also shine through a bit through the background. That would also look nice, but I apply here a bit of the lighter yellow, orange pigment and add it on top and blend it a bit together with violets and all the surrounded colors. Let's add a bit of light violet here. That also looks nice, and you don't have to blend it completely smoothly. Let it look a little bit painterly. Play a bit with, experiment with different structures. Blend a bit over the floor and bring in a bit more black into the background. But it comes more and more together, and I really like that. Let's go over then with some black and add some details here and there. Have an overall look to your painting here, and add some details, some fine overlapping hairs, some final longer tips. I always like to do that to refine the portrait finally. And then we don't have to forget the whiskers. Let's draw with a white pencil. I have here the pit from Faber-Castell. Let's draw fine whiskers and these thin hairs on top of our cat. Here I have the white charcoal from Generals then, and brighten up highlights, add some more white details then finally. Always finally look over the whole portrait and see where you can correct something. And then it's finished. If you love to draw eyes, I have a mini eye drawing course for you for just $20. You can sign up via the link in the description. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed drawing this sweet little Halloween kitty. And then don't forget to subscribe, and I see you in the next video.